All right, welcome to the first official class. We are April 18th, our first conference for week one. I know some of you are having some technical issues signing into Google Hangouts, so we'll work through those after this call. But this is recorded, so everybody can watch. And that's how I'll conduct it each week, that I'll have a live broadcast, and then there will be time to answer questions after the broadcast, but feel free to jump right in as I'm going through whatever we're discussing for this week, and I can answer any questions. But if you'd prefer to wait until we're offline, then we can do that as well. So what I plan to do tonight is go over the syllabus. So I'll have that pulled up and walk through that step by step. And then I will walk through the layout of what the typical module looks like. For the most part, our week one module will be very similarly designed to each of the subsequent modules. The only thing missing from week one are the case studies. So starting in week two is when we start the case simulations. And usually the calls on Monday, a lot of the time is spent just going over the case simulation to make sure that you're very clear on the expectations of that study. But again, for today, I want to go over the syllabus and then walk through what the module looks like. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So hopefully you should be able to see the syllabus on the screen. Let me know if you do not. So here we have our typical looking syllabus. You can see the start date of the course. Everybody, it looks like, has participated in the pre-assignment, so that's great. I will respond to that within the next couple of days and give you grades for that. I usually, grade the subsequent week. So this is a pretty fast course. It's the fastest one in the program, as it's only 6 weeks, hence that pre-assignment. In other sessions, there's not a pre-assignment due because it's a 7-week session. So just because of the shortened week for this session, that was why the pre-assignment was required. But hopefully you did not find it too difficult. My office, many of you have been to my office on campus already. It's right in 17 Emerson House on the Long Meadow campus. For office hours, this will be the kind of the standard format each week in this conference call format on Mondays at 7 p.m. But please know the conference call is optional. I'll be recording it. It's really for your own benefit to hear me speak about, the up and coming week, and also answer any questions in more of a live format than maybe via email or over the phone, which I'm also available to do. I'm certainly also available to meet in person if you are local and would like to, come on campus and just meet and discuss an assignment face-to-face. But for the most part in these classes, I'm finding this format to be very beneficial to everybody because we can do it after hours, after work hours, during the week. And once we work out some of the issues that some of you may be having signing in, it's really a wonderful format. So I promise if you're not able to sign into this one live and you're watching this through video, we will work out the kinks. And, last session, I taught this in January, everybody was signing in Monday mornings. You could see each other, listen to each other's questions, ask questions live. So again, I apologize for whatever technical issues some of you are having, but we will figure that out in the short run. So again, welcome. This course does have an emphasis on the CPA exam in terms of the audit section of the exam. Make sure, I'm going to go over the syllabus kind of quickly, but make sure to read it in great detail. But this course, it does look at the underlying audit concepts and terminologies, and we take a case approach, just figuring out some of the functions within the audit in terms of planning, organizing, and performing audits. It's in bite sizes, but when it all comes together in the end, you've really seen some of the bigger areas of an audit. So the case simulation will require you to put your auditing concepts into practice. We'll be looking at risk, assessing the implications of the SOX Act 404. looking at analytical procedures, looking at audit reports. And then there are additional elements of academic rigor. We will be looking at professional journal articles and CPA questions. Here are the main learning objectives for this course: to understand the audit theory and its implications to the audit of financial statements, evaluate internal controls and assess fraud risk, analyze audit planning, evidence collection, and documentation, and apply auditing techniques to conducting analytical review, statistical sampling, test of controls, and subsequent tests. So for many of you, that may sound like a foreign language, kind of all of these topics, but I think, and you should by the end of this class, feel very comfortable if you go back to these 4 bullet points that you understand what I'm talking about at the end of this course. I certainly don't expect you to know it going right in, otherwise why would you take the course? So, you know, don't be worried that this doesn't quite make sense yet, but as we progress it will. So the program outcomes are the same for each course. You can read through those. Here are the textbook requirements, the Wiley Principles of External Audit. Something that I need to point out with this textbook, if you have not noticed, it is an international version. The reason for choosing an international text is for a couple of different reasons. One, this is an advanced audit course. So to give you some additional knowledge outside of the United States was something just to make the course a little bit higher level, so that we weren't only just looking at introductory topics that are typically taught in an undergraduate program. So it should enhance, you know, your understanding of U.S. GAAS, Generally Accepted Accounting Standards, and the international standards. So I'll point out clarifying matters. But the videos that I post for each of the chapters are all really focused on U.S. GAAP. But during your reading, sometimes, you know, it will have that international flair, which is perfectly fine, especially in terms of, you know, enhanced learning. But another reason for choosing this text is that it was actually much less expensive than the other book that I wanted to use, which was all U.S. based, and because we really are trying to have cost savings on textbooks within the entire Bay Path University, we are, you know, looking at additional texts such as this, and then I include supplemental resources to help enhance your learning experience. So if at any time you have any questions about this text, I think the first few chapters are the most difficult to read because it's all principles and policies, but as we get into the meat of the course, there are actually no differences between the U.S. and international standards anyways. The other text that you will need is the Wiley CPA Review. So many of you who are taking this course are in the public accounting track, meaning that you would eventually like to study for the CPA exam. So by using this text, we're including CPA review questions as well as simulations that will be on the exam. I've tried to align both textbooks, so if we're reading about internal controls within the Principles of External Audit, you're also, you know, talking and learning about it within the Wiley CPA. So if you have not received your textbooks yet, that is kind of an issue because, you know, we're full force ahead now. The pre-assignment required the textbooks, and so will the upcoming weeks. So certainly don't assign textbooks that we don't use. Both of these textbooks will be extensively used. The additional readings, and I should add videos, there will be additional things that are added to the overall chapter or the weekly module. So make sure to look at those additional readings and videos that I've assigned. Looking at supplemental videos, sometimes I record my own, sometimes I've found outside sources that are using wonderful videos. Additional readings in particular within the Principles of External Audit, there will be academic articles that you will be required to read that you'll need to go to an online site to find, which we'll talk about. In terms of late policies, fortunately I have not had an issue with graduate students in the courses that I've had. And I'll lay out what the week looks like, but the articles are due by Friday night and the rest of the work is due by Sunday night. Because this course is so quick that it is in a 6-week structure, and for many of you, you're rolling right into session 2 after it, it will be very difficult to catch up on late work. You know, and I can see a snowball effect happening, you know, if you're late one week, the effect that it will have on each of the subsequent weeks. And because of that quick turnaround into session 2, really late work just in a graduate type setting really can't be tolerated unless, you know, there's an absolute reason. And with special circumstances or hardships, you know, I can certainly understand that, but in this type of program, you know, you should just be expected to keep up without any issues along the way. In terms of attendance and participation, obviously this is an online course, but the participation we'll talk about in terms of just actually responding to the articles, and that is the discussion forum that we'll talk about in a few minutes. But again, just to reiterate, you're not required to sign into these conference calls. Technically, you're not even required to watch them. I mean, I think that they're extremely beneficial, and if I were taking the course, you know, if I wasn't available to watch them, I'd certainly be listening to them immediately as soon as I could. But you know, this is an upper level course, and you know, the expectations are just there that you're doing the work and participating in the way that you should to learn the materials. In terms of academic integrity, this is something that I really don't take lightly. If I feel that something is being done inappropriately, perhaps, you know, you're turning in some assignment and, you know, it's just very clear that it's the same exact kind of discussion or whatever the case may be, you know, I actually don't even necessarily call you out on it. I turn it right over to our Office of Academic Affairs. We have an academic integrity committee who I explain the issue and they analyze, and they are the ones who determine repercussions. So please, the work really needs to be your own. I encourage you to work together with each other. So, you know, if you're turning in assignments that have similar features, that's fine. Just let me know that you work closely with another student, because I don't want it to be a feeling that I have that, you know, you were behind and then somebody let you have their work, which I just hope that that kind of thing does not happen. This course has been taught in the past, so, you know, if you're getting maybe old material from other students, remember my background is audit, so I'm always carrying that audit skepticism. Things stick out to me that students have written in the past, so I'm probably going to be able to pick up on it really quickly, you know, if it came from a student in the past. So enough on that topic. I really hope that this won't be an issue, but just please know that I do take it incredibly seriously, because this profession has had issues with integrity, as we all know, with a lot of the scandals, and it can't be taken lightly if I feel like something like that is occurring. In terms of students with disability, we have a wonderful academic support system and services. Jamie Kaburski is the person who, and actually I thought I had her email on here. I apologize, I'm looking here. I must have removed her email for some reason. Jamie Kaburski is in charge of our academic services, so if you need any type of accommodation for this course, please, you can let me know, and I'll give you her contact information, and then she gets back to me with a formal assessment of the accommodation that needs to be made. But don't be shy, you know, about utilizing these services if it's something that you've had to use in the past that help you get through a course, because we certainly have those opportunities. We don't have an official tutor for this course per se. Really, I've been able to work one-on-one with students if there has been a level of, you know, difficulty of getting through the material or something's unclear. But we do have a wonderful writing tutor. So you'll see that I'm requiring APA formatting for the articles that you're submitting. So if you're not familiar with that format, you know, this course is not a writing course. You know, I think I have a link already, but I'll make sure that I have it active, just to look at what the APA requirement is in terms of citing. Especially, the main thing is that you're properly quoting and giving credit to the authors and not taking it as your own. That's my main reason for wanting things to be in APA format. But we do have a tutor. We do have wonderful library services that can help. But quite frankly, students are able to really look at a quick YouTube video or the link that I provide and get through the course fine. So it's nothing really to be really concerned with. I'm not an English teacher. I'm not really critiquing on that. I want to be able to determine when I'm reading a paper, did you write this or are you citing it from somewhere? So just to make sure that you're properly citing your work is all. By now everybody should have taken our EXT 099 course, which gets you acclimated with our Canvas page. You're here, you must have been able to sign in properly, so that is good. If you have any issues with any type of computers or sign-in things, for instance, for those of you who are having problems signing in, I'll probably reach out to our online support to help both of us just figure out why the link may not be working on your end. But we will get through it. Communication from the university. I'm going to post most things right to the announcement page in the Canvas portal. However, there may be times that I'm addressing the entire graduate cohort. So there are students, especially the private accounting concentration students in the MSA program, who aren't required to take this course. So there are students, that aren't in this course who are in the MSA program. And I might send out just a universal email to everybody through your BayPath email. So try to check that regularly. Most urgent things that relate to this course, I'll post in announcements, but outside emails that relate more to the program overall, maybe registration, when it comes closer for graduation, things like that, I'd be sending to your BayPath email. There is a way to set it up where it links right to your phone. I have my BayPath email right on my phone, so I can constantly check my email. One kind of funny thing, though, I'd ask you to send email to me using my BayPath email, not the Canvas email. It's easier for me because it is on my phone and so readily available to me to get back to you more quickly if you're emailing me at the BayPath email. I'll certainly respond if you're emailing me through Canvas, but it's easier for me to get back to you more quickly using the BayPath email. And here's the contact support for any technology issues, online support issues. Now we can get into the meat of the course. So the way that the course is designed is that you will have self-review questions. So those you should have already seen what they look like in the pre-assignment. So at the end of the chapters that are assigned, you'll have about 10 to 15 self-review questions that come right from your book. You can copy it right from the book if it's answering the question directly. Really, it's proof to me that you've read through the chapter and that you're ready, to kind of move on to some of the other areas within the chapter. But it's an overall just review of the material that has been assigned. The article review essays are actually my favorite part of the course, and students get really overwhelmed with these in the beginning, but towards the end actually really enjoy reading through these different articles. So with the article review essays, what you'll see now starting in this week 1 is at the end of each chapter that's assigned, there is a listing of additional readings. Most are academic journals, so they're coming from, really higher level academics who are writing about topics that you would have read throughout the chapter. So the idea with these articles is to find an area that you're really interested in. Maybe, when you're reading through the internal controls, you're really interested in this risk area, or, auditing a particular area, or compensation factors, or whatever the case may be. Find an article that is of interest to you. I ran into an issue last semester where the students just were trying to find the shortest article, and then we had duplicate articles. So I will be posting in the announcements a forum for you just to say which article you've chosen each week so that we don't have duplicate articles, because it's too much for then the people who are trying to discuss your article to be looking at 5 of the same articles. So anyways, the whole goal of these is to really bring your attention to issues outside of the textbook, hopefully make you more academically intelligent in your places of employment and future careers. Say, oh, I read an academic article about this, and it really is a higher level of thinking than what would be required in an undergraduate program. Mostly everybody in this class are working professionals, so you do have outside experience that maybe the article can relate directly to, but you have a lot of freedom to choose the article that you want. And, if in the event you're kind of searching and you find an even more interesting article than is even listed in the additional readings, you could choose that article instead, because it's really just open your eyes to additional kind of topics and what academics are writing about. Now, for the class discussions, once the articles are posted Friday night, you have the weekend to discuss 5 student articles after that. So you'll read their articles, and then you will discuss them in some format. So by just saying whatever the article is about, what you liked about the article, what you might add to the article, what additional resources or research you might do on the article. These are all things that I'd like to see added when you're discussing the other person's articles. So what I find with this one, again, like I said, students have the most difficulty with this at first. But as you get comfortable with writing about other students' articles and articles of your own, I promise it gets easier. If you knew how to do it perfectly right out of the gate, why would you be in this class? So there is this element of professional writing. I am looking for clear and concise. So with these review articles that you're posting, that you're actually finding the article and discussing, I really want to keep you limited to about 2 pages. I did put a rubric in the shell to say, okay, how can you earn an A on these articles? So read through that, so you know the introduction, kind of statement of what they're actually researching, conclusion, what your additional thoughts are. So take a look at the rubric that I have posted and hit those main points. But in professional writing, it needs to be done concisely. Same with these class discussions. Each one should be about 150 words, which is really kind of a large paragraph. I don't want you just to say, good job, and that's your discussion. I want you to say something of substance. You'll choose 5. There are 11 students in this course. So try to find an article that maybe relates to yours or is in an area that you're interested in. You may not find some of these articles particularly interesting. Some of them, might be on the dry side. So find ones that you're interested in and want to hear more about. For the diagnostic tests, these are coming from the CPA review questions. So I'll pull up in a moment after I get through the syllabus what you're kind of tracking. So you're trying to look at this proficiency of saying, okay, here's the topic that we're looking at in the Wiley CPA review. How comfortable am I with this? And this is really for your own internal purposes. You can say, not at all. I'm not comfortable with this at all. You move through the questions and hopefully you feel more comfortable at the end of the week after looking at the Wiley Principles book as well as the CPA review book. And then you're taking these multiple choice questions. In your book, you already have all of the answers to the questions. So this is truly a self-review that you're reading the question, you're trying to answer it on your own. If you have no idea what the answer is, you have the answer key. What I want you to do in terms of submission for these diagnostic tests is to tell me, did you get it right or wrong? And if you got it right, why is it right? And if you got it wrong, why do you think you got it wrong? Basically, this is probably the easiest 20% in the sense of you submit, you're going to get basically a 100. If you went into this subject area and only felt 10% comfortable with it, you took the multiple choice questions and only got 50-60% right, but you were able to digest why you got them right or wrong. That's what I'm looking to see. So I don't want you in the multiple choice questions to just say, the answer is A, B, C, D. It's A because of this. Or I chose A, the answer is actually B. I got it wrong because I didn't understand this aspect of it. So it's completely self-reviewed and self-graded. If you have any questions on it, we can certainly go over it in detail, but it's kind of one of those side things that is linked with our principles textbook, but it obviously has a big focus on the CPA exam itself. So to start introducing you to reading through these chapters in a Wiley CPA text, and then answering CPA questions, and then the simulations as well, hopefully just starts to make you feel a little bit more comfortable with the subject. Wiley is the textbook that I chose because of the cost. It's a relatively inexpensive textbook. Becker CPA is the company who I highly promote. I found success with them, and many others have as well. So I don't think there's anybody currently in the class who's actively studying for the exam, but when that point in time comes, we can talk about that in more detail. Now, in terms of the case simulations, in week 1, you don't have any simulations due, but starting in week 2, you will have a case simulation due each week. This is where we spend a lot of time on our Monday calls. So, everything's posted Sunday night, well, midnight, Monday morning, however you want to look at it. And, you see the simulation, and then Monday night we talk about it before the week starts, because everything else is going to be really the same each week. You're always going to have your review questions. You're always going to choose your article. You're always going to have a discussion. You're always going to have the diagnostic tests. The case simulation is definitely, kind of that variable each week that changes significantly because the formatting is very different. Sometimes I'm having you do Excel filing, analytics. Sometimes I'm having you do ratios. Sometimes I'm having you write about an actual work experience in terms of internal controls. So they really do vary. So again, I take a lot of time up front to make you feel comfortable with the simulation. And then as you're working on it during the week, this is usually where I have most of my offline discussions with students one-on-one, just talking over the phone, having a session like this, or a meeting in person to just go over it in more detail so that you're very comfortable with it. So all of this, I think each individual thing is not easy, but, is something that you can get through. But there is a lot of it. So you have to really be able to move through this quickly and not dwell on, a certain question or aspect. You really, certainly if you have questions, reach out to me. But part of this course and the pace of the course is almost preparing you for, what it's like to be in the accounting profession. I'm sure for those who are working in it can attest, you need to be able to be proficient but move quickly through. And I'd say the design of this course is just that. It's very rigorous. You don't have time to spend 10 hours on just the self-review questions. You need to spend an hour or two on them and move forward. The articles, pick your article, write about it, and move forward. So that's where I've seen students kind of get hung up in the past, where they are spending much too much time on a certain area. So let me know if you are, feeling that, that 10-hour a week, I say 15 hours max, but I really like students to be at around 10 hours a week if you're just blowing that, say, budget, if you will, way out of proportion. Because hopefully I can rein you in a little bit and help you through some of the areas that are taking more time, because I don't want students to be spending 20 plus hours a week on this course. The way that it's designed is that each week is pretty heavy, right? But we don't have a big problem due at the end or a big exam due at the end where you have to take a week off of work to get through it. Each week is pretty heavy, but there's not really a week that's heavier than another week because it's pretty just straight-lined, if you will. So hopefully that makes sense. But keep that in the back of your mind, too, as you're working through each week. this is it. There's no big thing like a lot of courses that's due at the end, which is why the weeks might be, feeling heavier than other courses because, there's not that big project or exam at the end. So the evaluation is very standard right from our student handbook. Here's the tutoring services. Sorry, I thought I had it in here. Here's Jamie Kaburski's contact information. So if you think that you want to use a writing tutor, or if you have any academic needs that need accommodations, you can contact her directly, and she is phenomenal and can help you through any of that. So here's kind of what I just said about each of the assignments, so you can read through this if you need some more detail, but I think I covered it pretty well. Remember, with the CPA questions, you're doing every fourth multiple choice and every fourth simulation in the back of the modules that have been assigned. And here's the outline for the course. So here we are now in week 1. So we have 3 chapters due from the principal's book, and I'll show you what this looks like in Canvas to walk you through that. Here are the 3 chapters, and here's the 1 CPA Excel module. And you can see we're calling into the conference today. I've posted some supplemental videos and materials in week 1 that, I guess I can say I never know if you've read the supplementals or not, but they're there really to help you enhance this learning experience. And to me, it will be pretty evident, especially in the simulations when we get there, if you've looked at the supplemental videos or materials, because they're just going to help. They really are there to help you with the projects. So you have your self-review questions that you'll post in Canvas. You're choosing only one article from chapters 4, 5, and 6, not from each of the chapters. So of chapters 4, 5, and 6, hopefully there's a chapter that you liked the most, and more than likely you'll choose the article from that particular chapter. The article that you choose, I can't stress this enough, and that you write on needs to be posted by Friday by midnight in order to give your classmates enough time to post their discussions over the weekend. So this course is really you can get through all of your self-review questions, say during the week. You can, you'd be writing your article and have that posted by Friday. Maybe Saturday you're going to post your discussion thoughts, and CPA maybe during the week. And then when we get to the case simulation, that's probably something you're going to want to be working on kind of throughout the week too. I can give you kind of a better idea of how I'd approach each piece of the module too when I go into Canvas. So I say all of that here, and I say in week 1 there's no case simulation due. But then you can see starting in week 2, I scale down to 2 chapters, and case simulation is due then. In week 3 you only have 1 chapter from principles, and you have a case simulation. Everything else stays the same, except in Module 2 for the CPA, just be careful with the wording. You only have to answer half of the first part of the grouping of the every fourth multiple choice question simulation. And then you can see in week 5, you've got 2 chapters. So it does scale back. 3 chapters is a lot, but to get through kind of the introductory stuff, we need to move through it. So you can see a very consistent design of what each thing is going to look like. Okay, so I'll stop there for a minute before I get into the actual Canvas, so you can see what that looks like. And I'm back. Hello. So if you have any questions on the syllabus, we can either discuss it quickly now, or this is live. I'm broadcasting, so I will be recording in a minute, or I am recording. I'd stop broadcast at the end if you just want to have any questions answered completely offline. But if there are not any questions, I will move into looking at the actual Canvas module, just so you can kind of see exactly what that looks like. That format, give me a minute to share my screen. let's see. All right, so hopefully you see my Canvas modules as a shared screen. So what you can see here, here's the article submission grading criteria that I talked about. So you can pop into that and just take a look at kind of the rubric that I use. Most students fall into this 95. The work's excellent. The paper is easy to follow, proper length of, the 2 pages, properly cited, introduction, summary, article conclusion, and personal thoughts. That's what I'm looking for when you're reading this. What's the article about? As an introduction, summary, how'd they conclude, and what are your thoughts? What can you add to this? What would you maybe do differently? To get the full 100, it's really something that maybe you can think of. I mean, it's really exemplary that you maybe have firsthand experience looking at this. But most students always fall into the 90-95% range. I mean, if you are below an 80, remember, you need a B in this course. You need to maintain a 3.0 in this program to remain in this program. So when you are producing, below an 80, we'd have a discussion about why that's happening. Because that's just not graduate level work. But again, most students fall right into the 90-95% range. Oops. I just lost my screen. Hold on a second. All right. So when we get into the case simulations, there's a similar type rubric. Here are the pre-assignments that mostly all of you worked through, so I'll be responding to those now that everybody had a chance to post since yesterday. So here's our week 1. So, whoops, I call it week 2, sorry. This should say week 1 overview. Something happened here, but you should be following the syllabus. It's everything that I had posted in the syllabus is the proper overview. Sorry about that. I'll need to change that. But we start in week 4. I have a video posted about the main learning objectives in week 4. I highly encourage you to watch my videos because, like I told you, the book itself can be, especially these first few chapters, a little bit difficult. I've pulled out the learning objectives that are stated right at the beginning of the chapter, but I've really highlighted, the main things to understand within those learning objectives. And I've given you, in some instances, my own experiences working with these. So I think, you'll find them beneficial. Sometimes students can watch the videos and then just scan through the chapter and don't have to read it in that much detail because, I'm giving you really the meat of what the chapter is all about. So there's, my video that it should be right embedded in here that you can just click on. I'm walking through slides. I've updated things here and there, but you'll see figures right from the book as you're, just reading along. You'll be hearing me talk about it. Just goes right along with the book. So you can just click on play for those. I've tried to keep them as short as possible. And then in chapter 4, there is the actual, these are the learning objectives right from the book that I talk about, and then it tells you which review questions to do and on which pages you need to do those. And then here are the supplemental things, about audit firm rotation, partner rotation versus firm rotation, just kind of additional thoughts, and independence and public perspective. These are the supplemental things that I'm talking about. Probably you could get through mostly everything without watching these supplementals, but I think that they really increase your knowledge on the subject matter. Maybe I don't think the book has said enough about these topics, or it's something that can just expand your thoughts on the overall topic that will lead, again, to just a more intelligent conversation when you are working in the accounting profession. Now, you'll see the same kind of setup, exactly the same. And I should say, I always leave this open for Chapter 4 questions. So if you do have a question about the chapter, if you could post it here, and I encourage you to post it here so that the other classmates can see the question and maybe it would help them as well. But again, if you want to be emailing me privately, that's fine. I might say, if it's something general, I might just say, can you post it in the Canvas page or question? I'll respond there. But then you can see the same setup for Chapter 5. Here's my video. Here's the overview with the learning objectives. These are some supplemental videos about the AICPA Professional Code of Conduct. And this is what I'm saying, supplement, because your book is looking at the International Code of Conduct. So here you have the American Institute of CPA Professional Code of Conduct when you're reading about, these regulatory type things. Same thing in Chapter 6. You have my video. Sorry. You have my video about the topic, right? Then you just have the overview of the objectives from the chapter. And I should point out, this is where you're posting your self-review questions. So post them right there. And here's some supplemental. This is a wonderful video about the fraud triangle, a little bit more about failure and detection. And then any questions that you have on Chapter 6 you can post here. So you can see, just how each chapter is structured the exact same way. And then when you get into your articles, here's where you're going to post your article submission. So there's nothing more in here than, really just saying post it here. This is where you'll read the other students' articles. And then in this format is where you'll add your discussion. So the discussion can be one Word document that you're submitting with the 5 articles that you've discussed. So again, you're posting your own submission here. You're reading through 5 different articles, and here's where you're posting the discussion in one Word format. If you're reviewing Bright's article or Sequoia's article, just say whose article you're reviewing and just put it in one document right there. And you don't have to go back and forth. The discussion is kind of, quasi-discussion, I suppose. But it's interesting because you can read what people have thought about your article. It's expanding your knowledge on other articles. But this is really, again, high-level thinking. And it's not just, let's have a discussion to have a discussion. It's really, meant to enhance your understanding and higher-level thinking about the topics in the chapter. So then lastly, for Chapter 1, or Week 1, you have the Wiley CPA. So this is what I meant about the Knowledge Subject Tracker. So for each week, you're going to look at this. I'll just post it up here. And you can see all of the modules listed here. So the module that you're actually looking at, so this week you're looking at the Professional Responsibilities module. This is the preliminary estimate, right? You think you're proficient in professional responsibility, or you're generally familiar with it or not familiar with it at all. All you have to do is put a little X there. Then, because you're grading yourself, you're posting how well you did. Remember, on the CPA exam, you must get 75 or above. So you really want to strive for that. So if you're in this range, here's where you ended up when you're doing your kind of own diagnostic review. Nothing more than that. And then, right in the same format, you can post, all the questions that you actually answered, right here. And then just say what your answer was and a brief discussion of why you chose that answer. And that's all. Okay, so this one students have overthought a bit too. You'll save that information and you'll post it. So there's the tracker that you'll do for each week. And when you look here, here's week 1, Wiley, you're going to post it right here into the module 1. So once you have this done, post it here with, the results of every 4th question and simulation, and you're done with the Wiley CPA review part. Then, here's just some supplemental information about the CPA exam that I posted I posted a bunch actually in the first week's module, or the pre-assignment, to go through that. You know, this one I found you really need to get your CPA. Interesting article in the pre-assignment. Hopefully you had a chance to read through some of that supplemental information, and that was really focused on just understanding the CPA exam in general. You know, for those of you who don't wish to go on to the CPA, you know, don't spend as much time on it. Get through kind of the requirement, and maybe, you know, you're not looking as much at the supplemental information. So what you'll see for each week is this general design. In week 2, you'll see one other module here called case simulation. You'll see the Word file that I've included about what the case simulation is, and then you'll post it right there. But each week is going to look really identical to this layout. So hopefully that helps with, you know, just kind of the layout of what everything looks like and how to get through it. So I'll come off screen share, hopefully. Let's see. And I'll give it a minute to answer any questions live, and then I'll take it off broadcast and answer any questions that you have offline. Remember, again, if you're not able to sign in, this will be a YouTube link that's shared within each module. So at the very beginning of the module, I'll post the link, and then, you know, I understand you can't always sign in. It's not mandatory to sign in, but there's just a lot of opportunity to answer questions in this format. But if Monday nights are just a terrible, terrible time, and, you know, you want to speak to me in this type of format at another day during the week or time, you know, we can work on that offline as well. So if there are not any questions in the live broadcast, I'm going to stop the broadcast, and it will be posted for everybody to see. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to getting to know each of you in this course and moving through all of the course material. Thank you.